Hello, fellow procrastinators. Welcome to this video on overcoming writer's block instantly. While many of the tips and suggestions out there for battling writer's block are preventative in nature and focus on establishing good writing habits and routines, those are more long-term solutions that take a lot of time until they start working. What do you do if you need words on paper right now? Don't worry, I am about to give you my 8 best tips that you can employ in under 1 minute to overcome procrastination and go from stuck to the words flowing right now when you need them. So if you are ready to get started writing again, let's check out these tips. Tip number 1, change your font to Comic Sans. Writing becomes a lot easier when we don't take it so seriously, and nothing helps you take a draft less seriously than having the most unserious font out there, Comic Sans. So what do you have to do to make this tip work? Easy. Select all your text and change your font to Comic Sans. This is a little tip I actually learned from the novel writing community, where people tout it as this cure-all for writer's block. Though I was initially skeptical and my eyeballs hate it. I definitely don't use this for editing. Can confirm it also works for science papers and technical writing. If I'm having a hard time getting words on paper, I change my font to Comic Sans and just watch the words flow out of me. So next time you're stuck, try changing your font to Comic Sans and see if it helps you get some words out. Tip number 2, count to 10 and just start writing. Sometimes our writer's block is really just procrastination. There's a lot of other stuff on our minds, maybe some other things we're thinking about. Our attention and our focus is getting pulled in a million different directions. This is normal and this is just life, but this procrastination is going to prevent us from getting our writing done. So my go-to these days, I first recognize and tell myself, yes, I am procrastinating. Number 2, I take a deep breath, start counting to 10, and when I get to 10, I just close whatever else I'm doing, stop whatever else I'm doing, and start writing. That's it. That's the tip. And even though I was initially skeptical of this one at first too, this one does work for me really well when procrastination is my issue, and it has had an enduring effect over the years. I've been able to use this tip for probably 10 years now to break myself out of cycles of procrastination and get back to my writing project. So next time you're stuck writing, try stopping, recognizing that you're procrastinating, taking that deep breath, counting to 10, and just getting started on your project. Tip number 3, write in timed chunks like the Pomodoro technique. This one is something that people are usually a lot more familiar with because it's really been making its rounds lately as a great tool for getting work done. And that is for a reason. It works. So if you are struggling with any task, and writing is one of the many that this works really well for, do yourself a favor and just set yourself a timer. Until that timer goes off, you are not allowed to turn away from your task. So for the duration of that timer, you should be focusing. Even if you're not actually writing, or even if you're not enthusiastic about writing, having a set chunk of time in which you're not allowed to do anything else is often all I need and all my brain needs to really start switching into the focus of writing mode. So just a brief little bit more about this Pomodoro technique to help you out. Typically, this technique has you set a timer for 25 minutes, during which time you work on the project you need to. When the timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break and then restart the whole cycle. You do this usually 4 times before taking a much longer break, like 30 minutes. If this technique isn't quite working for you, here's just a couple things to think about. Number 1, respect your breaks. Your breaks are there for a reason. You don't want to push through your breaks. This isn't bonus time. Get up, stretch your legs, move around, refresh your tea, whatever you need to do, but definitely respect those breaks. Number 2, maybe consider not using a timer with an alarm. I know that for me personally, I actually often get into a little bit of a flow during these Pomodoros, and a timer that goes off with an alarm interrupts my flow and stops me from what I'm doing. I prefer to set the timer and have it there if I need to look at it, but not have it go off with something that's going to shake me out of my flow state. So you can try that. The other thing, maybe play around with the lengths of your Pomodoros. Maybe your timed writing session of 25 minutes is too much for you to start with. Maybe start yourself off with 15-minute writing chunks and give yourself more breaks that will allow your brain more time to sort of think and make connections and come up with what you're going to write for your next session. Even writing 15 out of every 20 minutes is going to be better than not writing at all. And then finally, play around with your timer. Maybe you want a timer on the computer that tracks all your sessions and how many times you wrote that day, which is great. Maybe you want to download it onto your computer so you can work offline. Also great. But maybe an online timer is not working for you. You can always use your cell phone, or you can get a kitchen timer and set it on your desk and you can watch it go by. So play with these little tips. See if you can make timed writing sessions work for you. Tip number 4, switch to pen and paper. This one is a little bit similar to the tip about Comic Sans, and this one helps you realize that what you're drafting is just that. It is a draft. It is much easier to see when you're scratching text on paper in a notebook and you're crossing things out and you have arrows going around, to sort of rearrange your thoughts. That makes it look physically like a rough draft. And that can help release any blocks related to taking your draft a little bit too seriously. Even if it's the same level of draft on Microsoft Word, it always looks like a little bit more of a polished document and it might be harder to get started. So next time you're stuck, pick up your favorite notebook, grab a pen that you feel comfortable using, and try switching to good old-fashioned pen and paper. Tip number 5, free writing. So this tip itself and the free writing process is going to take you longer than 1 minute, but because I pretty much always get usable text out of any free writing session I do, I'm going to consider just the time that it's going to take you to get started, so less than 1 minute. The way that you do this free writing technique, set yourself some kind of timer. I usually set a timer for 25 minutes, and for that 25 minutes, I am typing continuously, nonstop. It doesn't matter what I'm writing. It doesn't matter what's coming out. I'm usually writing stream of consciousness. I'm often swearing at my document or my project and making comments about how much I hate it or how annoyed I am or how hungry I am. Whatever comes into my head. Even though a lot of the time at the beginning, I'm writing nonsense stuff that doesn't matter, what usually comes up is I start talking to myself through the text of why I'm maybe stuck. So you can go to the link found below here to the blog post on my website to find an example of one of my free writing sessions. Please ignore all the curse words. This example can show you how this process can help unstick your thoughts and start getting the words flowing on paper. Normally, by the end of every free writing session, I have some chunk of text that is good and usable as at least a draft that I can take from that free writing session and plug into the text of my document. So next time you are stuck, set a timer for some amount of time that works for you and just force yourself to be putting any words on paper until that timer goes off. Tip number 6, move your body for at least 60 seconds. This is kind of like taking a break and respecting your breaks, but there's something about getting your blood pumping and getting that blood moving that really helps me sit down and focus a little better next time I come back to a writing session. So next time you're stuck, next time you're beating your head off your desk because you can't get words on paper, stop, push away, stand up, and do something that gets your blood flowing and heart pumping for 60 seconds. This can be jumping jacks or squats. I know somebody who does burpees. Find something here that you like, that you enjoy, that gets your blood pumping, that gets you moving, that maybe works the kinks out of your back, and then try sitting down and seeing what this does for your writing. Tip number 7. Record yourself speaking about this topic. So while this tip will take more than 1 minute to do in its entirety, just like the free writing technique, I classify it in the time it takes me to start doing this technique because I very often get usable text directly from this exercise. So I'm kind of considering it a part of writing. There are 2 different ways you can do this. Number 1, you can do this with a friend. Pick a friend, pick a colleague, pick somebody you can talk to, invite them out for a coffee, sit down, turn on the record function on your cell phone, and talk to them about what you need to be writing. You'll be surprised at the ideas you can shake loose through this. But you can also do this a second way, because I tried this tip exactly one time and it worked beautifully, and I realized that the thing wasn't talking to a friend that helped. What helped was just me talking. So now, if I need to get words on paper and I'm stuck and I don't know how to say it, I just switch to talking. Something about saying it out loud helps me really think through, organize, and formulate what I'm trying to say, and then helps me turn around and immediately start putting words on paper. So, next time you're stuck, switch from typing to talking. Finally, tip number 8, skip around in your project. Also, sometimes when we're stuck writing, it's just the particular section that we're working on. If you really want to be making progress on your writing project, but this section is giving you a hard time, make yourself a note in brackets. Put in brackets something like paragraph about the origins of this thing. Whatever it is that you need, put it in brackets, make yourself a note, and move on. Or skip to an entirely different section. If this section is giving you a hard time, maybe something else feels a little bit easier. Yes, you're always going to need to come back and write these sections later, but sometimes it's just the day. And you can move somewhere else and actually make productive, visible progress on your project by getting words on paper elsewhere, which can also be a motivating factor for you when you come back to this one sticky section and maybe it's the only one you have left, okay? So don't force yourself to go in some kind of order on your project. If something else is feeling a little easier, make yourself a note and move on. So there's our 8 tips on how to overcome writer's block instantly, but I'm actually hoping nobody's watching this part of the video because you've already found something that's working for you and you're back to typing away. But if you're still here and you're still with me right now, maybe you're looking for something else. Don't stress, because I have another video coming out after this for another set of tips that take a little bit longer to employ, of up to 30 minutes, that can also help you get words on paper, and then a video coming after that in this series on establishing healthy writing habits, and something in this is going to help give you the tools you need to get your writing done. So subscribe to the channel, and so stick around to the other videos in the series, and hopefully I can wish you a happy writing.